spot on truth-telling about today, not truth-telling about 200 plus years ago. Hey, Jim Chalmers, this is interesting, James. Outside of parliamentary sittings, there's a whole lot of these international meetings that go on. I mean, the Prime Minister never misses an opportunity to head overseas. We know he's off to Washington next week. But Jim Chalmers, he missed a whole lot of, I think, really important economic meetings last week. G20 finance ministers, International Monetary Fund. Instead, he stayed home to campaign for The Voice. Now, given all the talk today from Michelle Bullock, the RBA may hike rates on Melbourne Cup Day, concern about high oil prices feeding into inflation. I reckon his time could have been better spent at the meetings as opposed to the failing Voice.
Well, absolutely. And, I was just looking before we went on air to see how Jim Chalmers did campaigning for The Voice. Well, certainly in his own seat of Rankin in Queensland, it went 65.3% no. So well done there, Treasurer. You really got him over the line in your own home electorate. But that said, we live in a time right now, Peta, where I think, as everybody, I don't tell anybody, cost of living is front of mind. Geopolitical shocks around the economy are coming, and they're going to keep on coming with the situation in the Middle East and elsewhere. The Treasurer needs to be plugged into what fellow finance ministers in the West are doing, are planning, are hearing, are anticipating, so that Australia can better absorb these shocks, manage them, and he should not have been wasting time campaigning on a Voice which, if all of the reports we've read are true, well, we know that 3-4 weeks ago at least, internally they knew the thing was not going anywhere.
Patrick, I want to go to what we're seeing play out in Europe. We've got a terror attack in Brussels. 2 Swedish nationals who were there have been killed. We've got concern, I think it was a Chechen in relation to killing of a French teacher last week. Calls today from ASIO that we need to be alive to spontaneous attacks here in Australia. I was working for the Prime Minister when Islamic State basically exploded in the Middle East. This was a huge concern of the government then. I suspect they're similarly as concerned now.
Well, they'd have to be, wouldn't they? I mean, I can't remember a more volatile time of uncertainty in my adult life, and especially today with those dreadful scenes at the Gaza hospital. Everyone's trying to blame one another. I thought it was interesting the ASIO boss talked about, he linked words and rhetoric to violence, and I think some of the things that have been coming out of Parliament in the last couple of days from the Greens are very inflammatory, potentially very dangerous. It is a really difficult time at the moment. The next few days will sort of sort out where it might go, but we might be dealing with this for months. The English historian Niall Ferguson talked about the unpleasant 1930s air that the world is facing at the moment. Now, and he knows what he's talking about, Peter.